Hey there, you're listening to the Girls Talking Life podcast, and I'm your host, Johanna. If you're like me, you love time with friends. I always leave feeling encouraged, inspired to try something different, or I've learned something new. So why not continue to grow even when we can't be with our girlfriends? We're not made to do life on our own. So in each episode of this show, I'll bring you a girl and her story to give you refreshing ideas to stir your soul. Let's walk this road together. Are you ready to talk life? Hey there, you are listening to week 8 of the Summer of Friendship series. Last week, my favorite guest host, Sarah Westfall, talked about showing up when life gets hard. If you haven't listened yet, I encourage you to press play on that one. A few weeks ago, we chatted about capacity. We took a look at who we have in our lives and our expectations for our friendships. In that episode, I asked you to do a friendship inventory to list the women in your life. My hope is that your list surprised you, that you didn't realize how many terrific women you have. I hope your list was encouraging and that you identified a few women who you'd like to go deeper with. That was the case for me. I had a list of many wonderful women, and I realized that what I need to do next is to spend some time going deeper with a few of them. However, if that is not how things went for you, if your list was short, maybe you're in a new city or you're in a new season of life, or if you just don't feel particularly drawn to be closer with any of the women on your list, today is for you. We are talking about making new friends. If you haven't heard episode 91 or haven't made your list yet, press pause on this one and go take your inventory. There have been a few seasons when I remember craving community. I can remember feeling lonely probably for the first time ever, early on in my marriage. Not because I wasn't spending quality time with my husband, but because I had a need he couldn't fill. I had a few close friends during that season, but after having my first baby, there wasn't much time or energy for nurturing those friendships. A few years later, now with baby number 2, we moved to a new city. That was the beginning of a really fun, close season of friendship for me. We belonged to a small church of mostly young families like us and lots of sweet girls to befriend. We were a part of that church family for about 4 years, and then that season ended too. It was sad to see the church end, but what was really painful was the absence of the community that we'd enjoyed for several years. We moved on since then to a new church in a new neighborhood, but nothing was easy about keeping those friendships strong or making new ones. So if you find yourself in a season where you are craving connection, you are not alone. Let's talk about making new friends. This doesn't have to be one more thing on your to-do list. You can look for people in the places you already go, like your church, your school, and your neighborhood. Ask God to open your eyes to the women in your path. Who do you see that you'd like to get to know better? I shop at Trader Joe's and I've been going there for years. I regularly talk to the people who work there. There's one woman who is always up for a chat. I know how old her boys are, what her oldest son is studying in college, and where she went on her last vacation. If I had the capacity for more friends right now, it would be a no-brainer for me to ask her if she'd like to grab coffee and start a friendship outside the grocery store. Now, you might be thinking, how did I even strike up that conversation in the first place? There's no way I could do that. Well, I don't remember exactly, but it doesn't have to be complicated. While you're looking for people in the places you already go, try and get curious. Have some questions ready. In episode 92, we talked about going deeper, and I gave you some questions you could ask there. Those are not the ones to use here. These should be lighthearted, get-to-know-you questions. I love your shoes. Where did you get them? What plans do you have for the weekend? Have you taken any good trips this summer? This may sound funny, but practice it. Like most things, the more you do it, the easier it gets. Once you've talked with someone and determined that they seem like someone you might like to be friends with, then you do the inviting. Hey, want to grab coffee? Would you like to meet at a park with our kids? Hopefully they say yes, but they could say no. And if they say no, it could be for a whole host of reasons, none of which you should take personally. Do you remember a few episodes back when we talked about capacity? It could just be that they don't have the time and energy for a new relationship right now. Knowing that would help, but you may still feel a sting. Let's talk for a minute about the fear of rejection. I think we're all afraid of it. I know I am. But think about how you feel when you're invited. You're so glad someone thought of you, even if you can't do what they're inviting you to. So I encourage you to push past the fear and do the inviting anyway. 2 Timothy tells us that God did not give us a spirit of fear, but of power and love and self-control. About 2 years ago, I wanted to put together a local group of women for a mastermind. Women who were in business or ministry doing similar things to what I was doing. And I hesitated for months. What if the women I invited thought my idea was dumb? What if they didn't like me enough to be a part of what I was putting together? Those fears paralyzed me for a while, but I still felt God prompting me to move forward. I felt like this was something I needed, and I really hoped they did too. So I hit send on the email, and I invited 5 women. Guess what? They all said yes. These women were all acquaintances of mine, and only 2 of them knew each other. But they said yes to my crazy idea, and we've been meeting for almost 2 years. Our get-togethers are one of my favorite things, and I think they'd tell you the same thing. But if I would have let my fear continue to hold me back, none of us would be friends, and we wouldn't be experiencing the joy that comes from being together. This works the other way too. When you're invited, say yes. Now, of course, if you don't have the capacity for whatever it is you're being invited to, then don't do it. But if you're looking to make friends, say yes. This one yes could lead to something you didn't even expect. Maybe the person who invited you won't end up being your closest friend, but you might meet a friend of hers who will. Do not disqualify yourself before you even start. Don't render yourself unfit to be friends with someone before you even start a conversation. When my oldest was in preschool, we were new to the area and I wanted to make friends. There were certain women, other preschool moms, who had very nice cars, their hair and nails were just so, they had nice jewelry, and I completely disqualified myself from being friends with them, telling myself that they wouldn't want to be friends with me because I didn't have all those expensive things. They did absolutely nothing to make me think this. It was all in my head. And I may have missed out on some really lovely friendships because I disqualified myself from them before I even started. So we've talked about looking for people where you already go. You can also join a group where women are already gathering. Jump into something that is already happening, like church groups, community groups, an exercise class. Pick something that interests you, and you will likely find women there who you have things in common with. If you can't find a group, start one. I gave you an example earlier of starting my mastermind. You can do something like that too. Ask yourself, what do you need right now? A monthly breakfast? A weekly book club? It doesn't have to be big or complicated. I asked a couple of women to do a Bible study with me this summer. I invited 4 women. We meet on my patio and we chat about the scripture that we read that week. It is no fuss, but I'm getting to know these women better every week, and it was something I needed. What I love about groups that meet on a recurring basis is that the time is built in. You don't have to go through the trouble of trying to schedule a meetup every time you want to get together. It's all set. My mastermind meets the 3rd Friday of every month. The Bible study is every Tuesday night. We talked in a previous episode about how time and authenticity builds friendships. So a group that meets regularly is just likely to get closer. So to review, look for women to befriend in the places you already go. Start a conversation. Be the inviter. Don't let the fear of rejection stop you, and don't disqualify yourself. If you'd rather go the group route, join a group that already exists. And if you can't find one, start your own. Ask yourself, what do I need right now? Next week, Sarah Westfall will be back for the last time in this series to talk with us about celebration over comparison. I cannot wait to hear what she has to say. Until then, remember, like most other things, community has seasons. If you are feeling left out of genuine loving friendships right now, you are not alone. Keep looking. Your friendships are out there. Ask God to guide you in finding them.